I was ready. You're ready. I was born ready. Exactly. All right, we are back live at 7:27. Part of the agenda is 5C, Customer Service Enhancement Initiative.
Can I get the?
We'll get the presentation up on the screen and we'll begin. There we are. Thank you.
Good evening. Good evening, committee chair, committee members, and the public. My name is Jennifer Bosso-Hudak, and I'm the Director of Corporate Analytics and Technology for the city. Administration is here tonight to speak to the 2022 Customer Service Enhancement Initiative and provide an update on the service transformation recommendations for our council's future consideration. The committee package issued last week included the Customer Service Enhancement Report dated August 2022, assembled by a consultant MNP, which will be referenced this evening as we review the journey we took to create that report and formulate the recommendations. The agenda on the screen outlines the topics we will present related to the customer service enhancement. We will review the purpose and outcome of this initiative, definitions adopted, process we took, and the recommendation. We will then move into timelines for two e-solutions, e-permitting and the proposed financial enterprise system. Finally, we will summarize the recommended milestones to provide a holistic solution to launch a service transformation for Beaumont. Administration understands the importance of continual improvement in a growing community. As the city exponentially grows, our municipalities' operations need to evolve and keep up with citizen expectations. Thus, the purpose created for the Customer Service Enhancement Initiative was to develop a formalized customer service management strategy to enhance the citizen experience, simplify processes for employees, and improve operational efficiencies. We then defined the outcome of this initiative by identifying a single vision for the citizen experience, along with goals, matrices, and other reference materials to guide the multi-channel design and delivery of programs and services that prioritize the needs, wants, and expectations of the community. With this in mind, we created two definitions. The two main definitions here were developed to ensure consistency and clarity in our process and, of course, alignment with our council strategic plan. A Beaumont citizen defined as any member of the public interacting with the municipality through various channels. This includes, but is not limited to, residents, visitors, community organizations, businesses, and other entities interacting with the city. The second definition, the citizen experience, defined as the experience of any citizen who interacts with the municipality in person or virtually, also referred to as a service experience. Keeping these definitions in mind, our process was underway. We began with current state data gathering. Our project team conducted business environmental scans in each of the 12 departments. The insights into the types of citizen service interactions were gleaned from examining existing documented processes, completing weekly logging of citizen interactions, creating citizen journey maps with end users, and finally hosted facilitated workshops to discuss pain points and lackluster touch points related to Beaumont citizen interactions with staff. Next, with our stakeholder engagement, we were able to leverage a parallel project, the Digital Master Plan, and include questions related to customer service in the 7 public engagement activities completed this year. In addition, we conducted separate interviews with our internal stakeholders, all departments, and council members. Those findings are in our current state, and public engagement activities are summarized on page 15 through 20 on the attached August report. Next, we researched best practices. Administration reviewed other municipalities that have undergone similar initiatives with a fully implemented strategy for enhanced citizen service delivery. We identified the leading principles for municipal service and experience, found on page 9 of the report. Our research surmised that the relationship could improve between citizens and the city if we incorporated the 5 foundational elements in our programs and service delivery. The elements are accessible, services are simple and easy to access; informative, citizens obtain answers to inquiries in a fast and efficient manner; digital first, citizens want to access their business interactions with the city digitally first; streamlined, having programs to provide a seamless experience through one channel; and of course, being transparent, communication that builds trust as it is clear, open, transparent to the citizen. We also wanted to explore findings from the private sector to help define what a service culture could be. We examined Disney's Happiest Place on Earth, their face-to-face interaction model, Amazon's data-driven shopping experience, and Starbucks' agility to create a cup of coffee exactly how you want it. That concluded our research and best practices phase. As indicated on the right of the slide, we now moved into reviewing our technology and workflows related to citizen interactions. Our project team diarized the tools currently used by cataloging what types of hardware, software, and workflows that were in place at each of our 12 departments. Basically, anything that was used to interact with our citizens related to technology and workflows. It was now time to move to the ideation and future vision. Similar to adopting definitions at the beginning of the process for our citizen and citizen experience, we needed to articulate a vision that would unite and generate support from employees and other stakeholders by providing a clear, concise statement on future service delivery. Therefore, we conducted workshops to reflect and ideate a new vision. As a result, to achieve and sustain an efficient, effective, and meaningful citizen experience, administration had recognized the importance of strategically aligning citizen interactions through a single city-wide vision to deliver a seamless, meaningful service experience for citizens that is authentic and welcoming. In addition, we required to clearly define goals which would help stakeholders understand what is meant to achieve under this new vision. They help connect the strategy to our organization's overall direction and culture. Our 3 internal facing goals linked to the new vision on the left, in no particular order. Employees have required knowledge and access to resources to understand and deliver on service level expectations. Our internal processes are streamlined and automated in order to facilitate reliable, timely, and consistent service delivery. And finally, organizational tools enable effective service delivery through the use of data, information, and analytics for decision-making reporting. On the right, our external facing goals. Service interactions are meaningful, inclusive, and reflective of diverse community needs, with a focus on adapting as those needs evolve. Second, citizens have access to a wide variety of service delivery channels that facilitate reliable, consistent, and respectful service interactions. And finally, citizens are provided with support and training to increase their awareness and comfortability with accessing services. By identifying these goals, administration will be able to define, track, and measure progress throughout the service experience journey. Looking at the left of the slide, we had defined these 3 initial success measures to determine performance against the goals just identified. Number of touch points required to resolve citizen issues or complaints, number of services accessible through one platform, and the third, the amount of time to resolve citizen issues or complaints. We will add more measures once the new model is in operation. However, these three were identified to provide highest value for administration to measure the overall experience immediately and improve as required. After we considered and analyzed all the findings, we formulated the recommendation shown on the right of the slide to transform and create a new service experience office. Many municipalities have recognized the challenges that exist with traditional disparate service structures, as is ours. As a result, they are shifting towards a citizen-centric service delivery model that applies an integrated and interactive approach that holistically incorporates in-person, virtual, and digital experiences. As such, administration recommends that the city create a service experience office that will consolidate and oversee service experience transformation and related projects within the city. The office will also help build capacity in each department, allowing them to focus their time on high-value service delivery within their individual programs. This slide just shows an overview of the governance and composition of the SEO, or the Service Experience Office. It will work collaboratively with all the departments through this Service Experience Steering Committee and a digital experience working group, each being made up of members of various departments within the city. The purpose of the steering committee is to provide oversight and guidance on every service experience initiative to ensure alignment with the city's overall strategic plan and service experience vision. This includes monitoring overall progress, removing roadblocks, and making decisions to promote an excellent digital experience for the city's residents and community members. To summarize, their role was basically to provide strategic guidance, input, and oversight, work collaboratively to achieve a consistent and seamless service experience across all channels, review the progress on service transformation initiatives, and provide input on future initiatives. The Digital Experience Working Group on the right will be formed, and its purpose is to provide and is responsible for the development of all content and campaigns managed through the city's digital channels. Their role can be summarized to ensure accountability for project activities and actions, work collaboratively to create and refine all campaigns and content for digital channels, identify and escalate any concerns or issues, risks to the steering committee. To implement the Service Experience Office, we created a roadmap. Administration produced this roadmap to address the extensive scope for the creation of the office and the website and portal development. As these two initiatives do have high level of complexity and risk introduced as change and defining new capabilities which are inherent in these types of deployments. Effectively, we are consolidating 12 business units or departments into one as it relates to customer or citizen interaction in person and virtually. First, the intake of inquiries for this office will be based on establishing a type of 311 model to consolidate inbound inquiries and feedback. This will enable the city to provide a consistent service experience and understand the breadth and depth of citizen complaints and questions in real time. Second, enhancing the existing website and portal to meet community's expectations today through this office would be done through the digital working group. This includes, but it's not limited to, user-friendly design, adequate search features, and of course, an effective service portal. Both the office and the digital solution will be developed with the intention to launch in 2024. Basically, this is just the high-level steps that we have got located on. Each one has multiple different workflows, but we just want to give you a quick roadmap. This is the last slide in the presentation for the process side. These transformation projects listed: the SEO office, the website and portal launch, a new financial ERP system, and the planning and development service enhancement will all substantially change business processes by simplifying these for employees and stakeholders and create capacity within departments, as well as enhance the citizen experience. It is important to note that the alignment of these projects to the goals and vision of the new Service Experience Office will provide the necessary transformation and sustainment of enhanced service delivery to our citizens. We'll now move to the last two items on the agenda. Our service transformation initiative, which is our e-permitting, as we have tagged it during implementation, is the digital solution for online business licenses and applications for residential permits, complete with a fully integrated online payment solution, scheduled for a January 2023 launch to the public. At this time, this project is in user acceptance testing and it's almost complete. We are now moving to the focus group testing phase. That is, will individuals be invited from our community, will participate in workshops to provide feedback on their experience with the new online portal for these applications that are listed on the right underneath the business license and the residential permits. In addition, the marketing and communications plans are in progress and will be finalized and ready for our launch in 2023. We've listed all of these here. You'll see more detail as we launch them, but these are what we're ready to launch on an online on those columns. I'm not going to go through them all. But the one thing to note on here is that any further software builds beyond the Q2 of 2023 will be dependent on and align with planning and development's optimization of intake processes as was defined in their 2022 service review report. So that alignment to be scheduled as the financial impacts are pending approval at council's upcoming budget. The last timeline that we wanted to put on here is our financial ERP. During our customer service initiative, administration identified several manual intake processes throughout our operation. For example, the child care service area. It will undergo our internal workflow optimization process in preparation for deploying an online solution for citizens. Once we have completed our optimization, we will then be in a position to determine the proper software tools for our citizens to utilize on the new portal. However, we have already identified risks of onboarding more online platforms without addressing our current legacy financial system. The integration and patching of our legacy system inhibits our ability to provide positive citizen experience and a lot of architectural backlog in the programming side. Our customer service review and findings from our public engagement identified that the online payment, our current online payment, and service transactions for different city services are one, non-existent, tricky, or confusing, with a disjointed user experience that does not meet current expectations or even industry standards. This initiative will include work to develop more integrated and seamless online experiences for users and allow administration to continue onboarding manual intake processes and create the single software backbone in the new ERP. What we have on the slide is just telling you what we're doing currently. We're mapping out, we're doing current work with the finance side. To do that, we needed to do a little bit of work before we presented to budget. So that's our current state. Everything past Q1 to Q4 2024 is pendant on council approval. Last slide. In summary, the transformation and sustainment of enhanced service delivery, including digital channels, requires organizational-wide commitment and clear accountability. These organizational milestones noted here span over 2 years with every intent to future-proof further and add more milestones. First, the launch of the Service Experience Office with a new website and portal. This is the foundation to how our in-person service culture and online platforms will interact with citizens. Next, we will evolve the new self-serve portal with more digital applications. Any digital applications that are independent of our financial system will be reviewed and upgraded in our business solutions as we link them to the new portal. Things like special event requests, road use agreements, waste cart schedules, to name a few. The third is a recommendation to replace the legacy platform to a new financial ERP system. Although this project would begin in 2023, we would not see the benefits to our new digital experience until fully deployed in 2024. And finally, the last piece of the transformation is our digital master plan. Adopting the DMP and the roadmap, which identifies the work streams and activities for the city, aligning with the vision to continue leveraging technology, data, and innovation to enhance internal operations and citizen services, will allow the city to effectively meet and manage evolving needs and expectations of our citizens. With all these milestones, administration has or will provide council with budget requests for consideration as we hope to transform our service delivery. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jennifer. Appreciate that. At that point, I'll open up the questions. I believe Councilor Swain has his hand up. So Sam, why don't you get us started with some questions, please?
Yeah, thanks. And hopefully the audio comes through okay here for you guys. First off, really great work on the report, all the background, the research that was done. You know, we see a lot of reports through that come through us and in front of us, and this is really well thought out, and it was clear and concise. And so just kudos to you and your team for working through that and all the engagement that occurred. The first thing I'll say that, you know, what you've outlined here is absolutely needed. You know, Beaumont has been crying out for something like this to transform our customer experience. And so great work, and just the solutions that you've come up here looks really exciting. The challenge, as I'm sure you're aware, is the ask. And I won't dive into too much because of, you know, we've got a whole budget, 3 days of budget to talk through it all. But, you know, looking at $1.1 million of expenses here to be able to launch this, and then, you know, subsequent, you know, 600,000 plus, you know, for years following, that's going to be a challenge. And so, you know, for me, like while I said this is absolutely needed, I'm wrestling in my mind whether this is a nice to have or a must have. And so that's just where the challenge is going to be for me at budget. But the one question I wanted to ask you here is, when you look at the different options that you've laid out and the different strategies within all the different service transformational initiatives, is it fair to say that, you know, without one, like that, it wouldn't be a good option to kind of piecemeal this? This is the sort of thing that if you want to do it, you do it once and do it right and do it across the board. You talked about the need for like our financial system, etc., making sure we upgrade that. So I'm just curious from your thoughts if you thought there could be value in piecemealing this along the way, or is this something where we just should rip the Band-Aid off and do it once and do it properly?
So Council Swain, one of the things that's not shown with the ongoing costs in that office, the capacity that's being built in the other departments, and that'll come through fruition when we actually have it stood up. What we're doing is the efficiencies that those departments are going to be able to gain by removing that component of citizen interaction and centralizing it isn't shown on the ongoing cost. It'll add that value in those departments, and we'll be able to calculate that once we're up and running. So to answer that question, that it sticker shock maybe, but in the end of the day, it's going to add value to the city overall in all of those 12 departments. Piecemealing it is not what I'm going to recommend for two reasons. The first one is they're so interconnected that if we start piecemealing, there's no point in putting a website together when we don't have the right individuals in place to actually monitor it, get the data analytics and the customer service reps in that area to address it immediately. That would probably be my best thing. When you talk about the financial system, that's why we've got them laid out on a two-year plan. We need to be able to have that interconnection from our citizens being able to do their business online, but to spend the time and energy building the website that's going to connect us to a legacy program, it's not worth it, because we're spending more time patching that and programming and putting solution architecture in place that's going to go away. And it's almost like a wasted onset money. So we're better off to do it in a parallel. So to answer your question in short, one and done, please. Yeah, and appreciate the directness there. I would agree. I would, to your comment around sticker shock, I actually wasn't, that number actually came in lower than I thought it would be for what you're proposing there. I thought that was extremely reasonable, and definitely see the efficiencies that would come, very tough to quantify at this point. I think just to kind of foreshadow budget coming up here with a recommended 7.4%, that's where just the general challenge where we're at. So let me just reinforce, extremely well thought out. I definitely want to find a way to get there, and so we'll have to work through budget to get there. But yeah, it looks very exciting. I know that residents and businesses have asked for something like this, and I've asked for something like this for quite a while. So great work, and looking forward to hearing what everyone else has to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Sam. Appreciate that. Pardon me. Other questions from members of council? Councillor Tessier, you're up, Renee.
Thank you, Mayor, and thanks for the the presentation. And it wasn't touched a whole bunch on there, but obviously that includes a complete service portal change and how we do business, like on the budget document.
The whole front end is
the
gone.
whole thing. So does the face of the website actually change too?
Everything.
So the old stuff's completely gone and it's just new.
Brand new.
Okay, and then I can't remember or find, last year I remember we approved something in the customer experience and data train.
Okay, the customer service initiative that you saw here, we did this with internal resources within my department. And then the spatial data was the backbone architecture of our GIS system that's allowing us to go to an open data forum in a couple of years. So that was the spatial data project that was an operating ask that we did. And that one's been delivered 100%. So we're done with that project for this year.
Okay, and so is that GIS going public then?
That's part of our, so that will eventually, it's part of our roadmap that we're working through on the digital master plan. The intent is yes. We had to build that back end so that we weren't allowing sensitive information to go out, but it's going to help all the developers access our, request the shape line files online and things like that. So yes.
Okay, thank you. That answers that. And then I don't want to get into budget, but does this require 5 FTE positions to accomplish this?
What it requires is about this project, different types of skill sets. So for the first 3 months, we were bringing in business analyst term positions to come out and do some workflows. We would be bringing in what we need to get it there. When we're done at the end of the day, equivalent would be 5 FTEs at the end for ongoing costs at the end once it's stood up.
Thank you. Yeah, I 100% echo what Councillor Munkoff-Swain is saying. We sit up here and we say, go to the service portal and use the service portal. And, as well as I do and everyone here, that our website and our service portal has run its course. So I'll leave it at that. One question. So, sorry. Explain to me how this would be better than our current service portal that we have right now. What would be different other than the response? Like you said, it would be an in-person thing virtually. So can you just explain that a little bit?
So we're getting into solution. We haven't gone there, but to give you a high level diagram of what it is, right now, the service requests are going to the departments. What we're trying to do is put the service request into the hands of a workforce that's actually going to address it. They don't leave. That customer comes to this particular individual phone call. If they can't answer it, they then book an appointment online with a tech specialist to actually answer it. So it becomes very much, you don't leave, a customer or citizen does not leave without having either an appointment booked to talk to someone special or the answer. So basically right now it goes into a queue and waiting for that, right? Because right now the operational component of our city has to manage the operational side. When a citizen calls in, they're waiting in queue for an answer, and it could be a while because they're dealing with stuff on the field. It's different. We now have the services right here in this office. They deal with that customer firsthand.
Okay. So they would call in or make an appointment or call in or go through the service portal, and if they can't get an answer, it'd push out a couple appointments that they can choose to contact someone.
That person would stay. I'm giving you a solution that I haven't fully mapped out yet.
Okay,
We haven't
yep.
fully mapped out. What would happen is we have an online booking system. A department puts in 15 different time slots that they're available to help citizens throughout the day. So it's a controlled time slot. This representative would actually be on the phone with the customer or the citizen and say, we have an opening on this time at 3 o'clock. Does that work for you? Let me take your name and number, and I'm just going to write down a few things. And this Jane is going to call you back with the information that you require.
Okay, thank you. That answers it. So
And it might change.
yeah, and that's okay. I'm just wondering, you know, it's a lot of money. I'm wondering, does that money get us to where we need to go? Say outside, and it's comparable to the city of Calgary, Edmonton, whoever we want to compare it to, and I can get in there and get that done if we're sending someone from the city.
The number of phone calls that we receive, the number of citizens that we have in Beaumont, the number of homes that we have based on what we have right now, that'll work. If we go to 12,000 new homes, we probably have to come back to you for more customer service reps, right? But that'll be down the line. And right now it's forecast for the next 4 years that we have for the ongoing cost, because we don't think we're going to grow that fast.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Councillor. I have a question myself. What has been the growth in the service portal calls? Like our service portal entries from residents, has it gone from 500 10 years ago to a couple of thousand now? What's been the last maybe 2 or 3 years of growth in the service portal?
I can give you only since 2019, we had 500 in 2019, and we have right now, we've had over, I'm going to say 3,500. And that's only what's been logged. And when I say what's been logged, what's been used to the portal.
So in a year or year to date, 3,500. And it's 500?
500 in 2019.
Okay.
And that's taking out the anomaly that we had, the spike in 500. So that's average.
Okay, that helps me.
And that does not include, sorry, that does not include any kind of emails that come into council. That doesn't include any kind of emails coming into our general public boxes, things like that. That's just through the service portal.
Okay, that helps. Councillor Tessier, follow up?
I'm back. So obviously this isn't new, like this isn't a self-announcers can go on to compare other cities if I wanted to try it and see how it would work and be like this is how it would work, this is how it would look, and other cities are doing it this way, or are we the first ones to go this route?
No, not the first ones. We have a couple that we've done there. You can take a look at Airdrie, you can take a look at City of Barrie, you can take a look at Mississauga, you can take a look at Edmonton, you can take a look at Calgary. There's quite a few. What we're doing though is we're going to integrate it into our software packages in the backbone. What becomes unique is our backbone, the financial enterprise system and our tracking system on our customer service side and going into our asset management side. So the backbone's different. What that means is how we communicate the facade, the citizens see, that language that gets back into the backbone, that would be different. I think it's a 311 model without purchasing 311. Truly is what it is.
And is 311 astronomically more money? Is that like a branded? Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor. Any further questions from council on the presentation this evening? Seeing none, is there a member of council willing to move the report be received as information? Councilman Newkirk.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor.
Oh, here it comes.
I would move that the November 15th, 2022 Customer Service Enhancement Initiative Report be received for information. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Discussion on the motion? Seeing none, Council, I'll ask you to vote on the motion. Councillor McCook, how do you vote?
In favor.
Councillor Barnhart?
In favor.
Councillor Muckoff Swain?
In favor.
Thank you. That passed unanimously. Thank you for the presentation. All right, we're on to the next and last item of the agenda, which is 5D, Traffic Safety Bylaw, Automated Traffic Enforcement. Director Melvin, you're on the hot seat, or you will be shortly, once you sit down. Right, Jay, welcome. Please proceed.
Okay. Good evening, members of the committee and the public. Chief Melvin to provide the committee as a whole with the update of where we are in the traffic safety bylaw and the automated traffic enforcement, better known as photo radar program within the city of Beaumont. This evening, I'll be breaking down the presentation into kind of two streams. Initially, we're going to talk about the traffic safety bylaw, the recommendations that were put forward there, talk a little bit about some of the results that were coming out of the survey, what changes we think should go in there based on the results. And very similar to how we did the committee of the whole a presentation for the community standards bylaw. Once the committee has provided us recommendations on any changes that they would like to see to the traffic safety bylaw, we would then bring those changes back at the December council meeting or a meeting so desired in the future as determined by council. So the traffic safety bylaw obviously enables the community to govern its roadways, vehicles, and pedestrians in areas of local autonomy and control. The bylaw has addressed public concern when it comes to parking, activities on the highway, vehicle operation, and transportation of dangerous goods. As we've said, we've attached a summary chart, which is in fair detail. The traffic safety bylaw is not a new bylaw. We have one current within the city right now. This is going to obviously modernize and update our current traffic safety bylaw, but it's also going to rescind a couple of existing bylaws, the idle free bylaw and the heavy traffic and dangerous goods bylaw. That'll be very similar how we did the community standards. So the traffic safety bylaw, some of the things obviously were of concern through the survey was RVs. RVs are a topic that is always generates lots of conversation, and we received, and I have received comments from the community over the past year when it comes to RVs. And do you think we have an RV issue within the community? Presently, right now, within our traffic safety bylaw, we allow that 72 hours, which seems to be fairly reasonable. And then you have to move it for 48 hours, which would be your typical going away for the weekend, and then you're back to unload. There didn't see a big concern when it came to RV parking, but that based on our respondents that we did receive, it seemed to be like a 50-50 split. Now, whether that was from, we didn't get down into the demographic, if the people that didn't like it were RV owners compared to the people that were doing it. We had received some minor complaints, but over this past camping season, there wasn't a lot that caused us any of more concern. It was just more of an education piece to understand. Now, stating that, can somebody move their thing and bring it back 48 hours later? Absolutely. That's not the intent. If we were seeing anybody trying to find loopholes in when it came to RV parking, we would and have dealt with them accordingly. So we believe that that 72-hour and the 48-hour in between seems to be working quite well. The next one that generated was the extension cords over sidewalks. Right now, in our traffic safety bylaw, says the typical archways. Those sometimes can create a bit of a hazard depending on who the carpenter is that installs them. But we've also heard from the residents that a mat would also be suitable to cover the extension cord. So we're willing to put that forward also in the traffic safety bylaw. A lot of the things that are in here are really making sure it's modernized with the current Traffic Safety Act, and really to try to once again compile a lot of the information into one document when it comes to that. The traffic safety bylaw is a relatively large document. And I think at this time, what I'll do is I'll turn it back over to the committee that you may have some questions or what about this? Was there any concern about this? Or I'd like to change this type of comments before we roll into the next piece of my presentation.
Thanks, Chief. Appreciate that. Are there any questions from council at this point? I got one I'll ask while I think of it. You mentioned the RV. So before I go to anybody else, a quick question. Chief, I know right now the RVs, 72 hours, I think is reasonable. Most people have said that, but it depends how you define moving it after that. If it's in parked in front of your house and if for 72 hours you move it 2 feet, is that sort of new 72 hours? Because how do you define moving? People saying, well, my neighbor moved it 2 feet. That's not really moving the vehicle. So how do we define that to, I know the notices help to assist with enforcement. How do we define moving?
We have had, and there's certain occasions within the community that does happen. We try to address it as quickly as possible, but within our current traffic safety bylaw, as long as they literally move it, it does create some concerns when it comes to RVs. We haven't seen a lot of complaints to it. I don't want to blanket the whole RV users within the community that this is happening. The majority of the users that have RVs respect the rules of and be a good neighbor when it comes to that, knowing that they park their RV in front of their house and they load up a couple of days and then they're off. But once again, we're willing to investigate that change if we want to put some more literature in there that specifically says it needs to be moved away from, whether that be the front of your house. It's the dynamics of that is going to be very difficult to try to put into the bylaw. But I think if we deal with those case by case, and if we're starting to see an increase of abuse of what's in there, then I think at that time we can either look at changing some language in it right now, or we can leave it as is with the 7248, and then we can definitely deal with those people that are trying to abuse the interpretation of the bylaw.
Right. So I appreciate that because I was looking at the notes in the chart here, and it said providing greater clarity would assist in enforceability. So I was wondering if you had any thoughts on that. Like, for example, you must move the RV at least 100 feet, which means it couldn't be in front of your house anymore. It's got to be from a neighbor's house. So most people wouldn't move 100 feet. They just move it away. They wouldn't move 100 feet and go back and forth or move it 250 feet. Just to give you an idea, you asked about greater clarity for enforceability. What were you sort of thinking with that? Are you looking for any kind of suggestion, or other municipalities are doing certain things? Just curious.
Right now, what we have in there, we think the language works because in the current one, it says that shall be removed to an off-highway location for at least 48 hours before it can be parked on a highway again. So considering our roads are highways, so we think that it's not too restrictive.
Right.
in event something comes up. But at the same time, it does allow us to set some parameters there that respects the good RV owner and
So
user
to clarify, off highway means off the street.
off the street.
Right. Okay. That's what I thought it meant, but I better get it clarified. So appreciate that. I do believe Councilor Swain had his hand up, as well as Councilor Van Newkirk. I think Sam might have been first. So Sam, followed by Councilor Van Newkirk, followed by Councilor Miller. Sam?
Yeah, thanks, Bill, and appreciate the update, Chief. The question I had just around the RV piece, not necessarily much around moving it in 72 hours, because I think we heard good feedback from our residents there. It was the questions that I've got. There's about 3 or 4 spots around the community where there are some very large RVs, buses type thing that park close to crosswalks, and the challenge that I hear from folks that and these crosswalks are close to schools, and so there's just clearly no way that you can see around it, and you can't see anyone who's kind of coming out from the on the crosswalk because the RV is locked, is blocking it, or the bus. Just curious if, is there anything in there, and apologies, it was in the detail, 270 odd pages tonight, I may have missed a paragraph or two. Is there anything in there that speaks to, proximity to crosswalks for those sort of things? It just, the safety hazard has been flagged a few times, and I've been waiting for this conversation to ask that question. Thank you.
So having said that, I think Sam's referring to the Class A, the typical bus style, which are very big RVs, and they're very close to a sidewalk or crosswalk. I agree with them. There creates a huge blind spot. So the Class A more than the Class C, which is the over cab style, not quite as large. The Class A are the big ones.
That's what I meant. And Bill, you would recognize the one just down the road from your house, just coming out from that crosswalk by coming out from Colonial School. There's always that big large one there that makes it very hard to see. So anyway, sorry, Chief. Go ahead.
Through the mayor to Councillor Swain. Obviously, sight lines is extremely important when it comes to traffic safety. I don't have the details right now, but I will take note of that. But typically, any type of intersection, we do have it kind of on page 10, and I don't know if that captures what you're looking for, but it says no person shall allow any fence, wall, or any object of property owned by that person and situated within 8 meters of a highway intersection to interfere with sight lines availabilities for safe tracking and pedestrian movement. So we have that piece there that we have used in the past, but once again, if that issue is happening in the community, then we can easily address it as seeing fit, noting that that is a traffic safety concern when you have. And it could be more than just a bus. It could be some of these trucks that people have with equipment in the back could easily block sight lines, especially on narrower roads within our community, cause all sorts of concerns. So I don't know if that addresses it, but if it doesn't, we can definitely add some more clarity on language when it comes to access and sight lines of pedestrian crossings.
Yeah, so I appreciate that. It's very vague. If I'm and I understand why you wrote it like that or why it's drafted like that. If I'm a landowner or a homeowner, sorry, it's pretty hard for me to understand that. So I just don't need to solve it today, but think about, is there a measurement? Is there a number of meters? We're not allowed to park normal vehicles X amount of meters away from crosswalks and all that sort of stuff. So is there an additional space that we could look at? And I'll be happy to flag the different areas throughout Beaumont where I've seen it and people have flagged this particular issue for me. Obviously in the middle of winter here, not many RVs kicking around, but so tough to go and look at. But I'd appreciate if you guys could just go back and take a look through around, could we be a bit clearer for residents on how close they could park, specifically to crosswalks? That would be appreciated.
Mr. Mayor, there are some
Yes.
on the first page of the summary under crosswalk that may address that, but it is something we could definitely endeavor to look at a little more closely. But just for the it is a very large document, so just to help the committee a bit, there is a section on the first page of the summary under crosswalks that may address that. But we can certainly look at that a little more closely.
Okay, so having said that as well, as a follow-up to Sam's comment, Chief Melvin, you mentioned 8 meters there a moment ago. I thought you read that. I couldn't find when you read it. That's only about 25 feet, right? So give or take. So
Mhm.
coming up beside a semi with a trailer attached to it or a Class A bus, from the front of that bus, 25 feet is not that long, not that long a space. So I'd even suggest what Sam is suggesting. I'd be more comfortable with 15 meters, honestly, just as a for those big vehicles. The average car, no. The average car, 5-10 meters is more than enough time to see what's in front of the car, sort of a crosswalk. But those rare Class A and large semis, they cast a pretty big shadow.
Mhm.
And that 5 meters or 8 meters, to my way of thinking, is not a lot of space in front to adequately see the crosswalk. So thanks for bringing that up, Sam. That's a good point. I had people mentioned that
I
before.
did see that section, but to me, it was more on the generic one. I didn't see anyone specific, and maybe I'm just not reading it right. But when I read through it, I thought it was more generic, the 5 meters back from a crosswalk. Obviously, difference if you're parking a sedan or an SUV versus a class a larger RV. So I'll leave that with you, Chief. And if the answer's already in there, and then no problem. Just wanted to flag it. Appreciate that.
Thanks. Maybe just a very quick suggestion, Chief, maybe any vehicle over, 10 meters in length, which would be a Class A bus or a semi, would have to park further back where the average car would not have to. So just a suggestion how to make that safety factor quite enforceable and quite easy for people to understand that I'm a big vehicle, I got to be back further. It's common sense when you think about it. Great. Thanks, Sam. Appreciate that. Councilor Van Nieuwkerk, you're next, followed by Councilor Miller. Steve? Oh, sorry, Sam, you were done, right? Your hand's still up. Sorry, were you finished? Okay, thank you. Steve? Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Excuse me. A few comments and a few questions. So right off the hop, even Councillor Malkoff-Swain and the mayor were assuming that by RV you meant to include motorhomes. I think we need to put that clarity in here because is it a tent trailer, a travel trailer, an RV, a fifth wheel, a Class A, a Class C, a Class B? What is it? So I think we have to put some increased scrutiny into defining what an RV is. Because I think by definition, a motorhome is more classed similar to a vehicle, whereas an RV is a trailer tow behind. So, currently enforceable. So currently a motorhome can sit in one place for a very long time. Under the current bylaw, I believe that's what the officers have told people in our neighborhood versus trailers. Something you hook on and tow around is what an RV is. So I think we need to add that clarity to this document. I don't know if you have any comments on that, but that would be my comment anyways.
Through the mayor to Councillor Van Nieuwkerk, I believe a lot of those was captured in the definitions piece. Obviously, we didn't bring that forward because we're trying to deal with the meat of the document, but
For sure.
it is duly noted, and I will verify that that concern is addressed when the document comes forward to
and
council.
the definition is exactly where that needs to be. Second one is just, and I'm just going to go through a few bullet points, Mayor. It should be pretty quick. Regarding idling, there's a suggestion of 10 minutes. What I would say is that most factory settings on vehicles can't be modified, and actually most of them are set to 15. So I would suggest moving that 10 to 15, just because that's how vehicles are mostly programmed. And expecting people to go back to a dealership to get it reprogrammed to 10 so that their neighbors don't complain and give them a ticket, I don't think is feasible. So that comment. Exempt vehicles, there's a section on that. Currently, the ATE vehicle hasn't been choosing very good places to park around the community. Is that vehicle currently exempt, and would it continue to be exempt under the proposed?
Yes, it would continue to be exempt, but there is some guidelines in our ATE program when it comes to where they can park and where they can't. Snow removal creates a massive challenge when it comes to ATE to try to get off the road, but we can definitely ensure that that's put in there if desired so by council.
Yeah, what I would say right now is if the ATV vehicle isn't parked in a great spot, it'll pop up on social media. So that's where we're at with that one. Just around extension cords, around across or above sidewalks. You did talk about that a bit already, and talked about the arches versus the map. And I'm not clear with what the suggestion is on that, because questions 10 and 11, so if we said we weren't going to have extension cords at all, then that would conflict with the resident feedback on questions 10 and 11, where, you know, I think it was like 60% said yes to an arch or yes to a this or whatever. But I think in the most realistic sense, on the coldest days, like, you know, I've strung something out across sidewalk, and then it's been there for a day or two, and you know, then it goes back, and I know it causes challenges because there's strollers and bikes and people and tripping hazards, and a frozen cord doesn't stay flat on the ground. Like, all of that stuff is real, right? I just don't know what the reality of saying no to that would be. So where do you go with that? Even it's tough, eh?
Through the mayor again to Councilor McGough-Swain. Obviously, in our current traffic safety bylaw, we have the archway. Based on a survey, we want to add in the mat as an option to if people just want to lay it across the sidewalk and put the mat down there. We're saying that yes, that we want to put that forward. Okay. I just want to mention it, that it was brought up. We asked a question because we knew we had a lot of questions out of, well, all these extension cords. Well, how can we mitigate that? Well, you know what, maybe we can, instead of saying, no, you can't do it, let's see how we can make it, try to make it work. Yeah. And the mat was the most sought after option. Yep. And that's where we would definitely put a mat in on the extension course. So the public has those two options.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good clarity. And then we talk about playground zone and school zones. I'm just wondering, is there any online maps available that show where all these actually are in Beaumont? Like, do we have those maps in our GIS database? And if not, I would suggest that, you know, in our spare time, we create them, you know, so that we can refer to, I think we have to arm our municipal enforcement folks with the best tools, right? So they should probably have a map of where the school zones are and a map of where the playground zones are, where do they begin and end? And I know it's all resources, but what would we do with that?
To Councilor McGough-Swain. So our current supervisor within municipal enforcement is kind of divided up the city into kind of quadrants, and each officer was responsible for a certain area for when it came to patrolling. So we do have GIS maps that show our school zone and playground zones where they currently are. That is also translations over into our ATE locations, because those predominantly where all of our school zones are covered. Playground zones is as new ones get developed, and as we'll get into the next part of the presentation, understanding the complexity of bringing a new location online. It's not as easy as it may seem, but all those maps are easily available. And moving forward, we can easily, if not already done so, on the city website, to ensure that there's a GPS layer that shows playground zones and school zone within the city of Beaumont. I'm sure that's information that's relatively available.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was going, is that if it's available internally, then let's make it available to the public as well. So a couple of wording things in the vehicle operations of golf carts. You may want to add the load unload provision similar to the off-highway vehicles, because I do see people loading and unloading golf carts. I think it was written up with the lens of driving down the road to get to the course kind of thing, but people do load and unload. Had a question around e-bikes. There's nothing in here about e-bikes, but some of these are getting pretty fast. The marketing technology for these things is changing lots and changing fast. But have you seen or heard of any municipalities starting to put any language in these types of bylaws explicitly to e-bikes yet, or have we not got there, or what does that look like?
Through the mayor to Councillor Van Nieuwkerk. We haven't received a lot of complaints. That doesn't mean that obviously the issue is not out there. We can put some language in there, but once again, we're really got to try to internally within municipal enforcement to determine what the issue is or what the concern is. Is it a speed thing? Is it a is it how, you know, how they're being operated within the municipality? That's something I think is probably a living document that we're going to have to kind of look into and see what others are doing and see if there's opportunities out there where we can educate before we have to be so restrictive as in putting something into the bylaw. But we can definitely look into it, and then if there's information that that would be viable for council in including in this document, we can definitely get it back to you before the document comes back for first, second, or third reading.
Yeah, and then in the same vein, I don't know if you've seen it around the community, but I'm sure others have. The traditional like Yamaha 50cc scooter that you might have got 15 years ago when you got your learners, you could drive that on the road. Well, they make electric versions of those types of things now, and they're starting to be driven on our paths and trails in Beaumont by adults, kids, teenagers alike. And I don't know what we do with that. I think there needs to be probably some clarity around what can and can't go on the trails. Like they're a full-size electric scooter lining up to cross the crosswalk across 50th Street from Colonial to Shoppers, right? There's one I see often when we're driving around the community on a weekend. It's not uncommon to see someone beetling around on a full-size electric scooter that, you know, has signal lights and it's built for highway. So I don't know how we would provide that clarity in here, but you know, see if there's something, I guess, would be my guidance. And then question 19, just some clarity around RCMP versus bylaw. So in that question, we asked, just going to it here, question 19, that's attachment 2, page 271 of 279. Around enforcement. So I'm not getting into AT this, I'm just talking about enforcement. We'll do AT after. But when it comes to enforcement of traffic in playground zones, what I was wondering is, were we misleading in saying that more municipal enforcement officers would help this issue? You know, because who actually can and can't give tickets of what type under the provincial act and whatnot. So just some, could you remind me tonight to give me some clarity on who can give a speeding ticket and who can't? I believe there's a level of municipal officer that can, and we have one of those. Could you just walk me through that right now? Thank you.
Through the mayor to Councillor Van Newkirk. So from our municipal enforcement officers are the ones that can do traffic violations, are community peace officers. They used to have a community peace officer level 1 and level 2. Level 2 is kind of discontinuing at the end of this year. So there's going to be a community peace officer level 1 that can do your moving violations, and then there's a bylaw officer who can't. So that's the two different pieces. Obviously, RCMP officers can enforce moving violations, and community peace officer level 1s. Note that a bylaw officer is not permitted to drive a CPO level 1 officer or a vehicle looks very similar to an RCMP vehicle with lights and sirens on it. Their only permission is a flashing yellow light. So there is some strict restrictions within the SolGen and within our municipal enforcement program that permits what the scope is for community peace officers. So a municipal enforcement officer, yes, is a community peace officer level 1 and a bylaw officer, but only community peace officer level 1 can do moving violations effective January 1st of 2023 moving forward due to changes in the regulation.
Okay, so it wasn't misleading. It's just hire more municipal enforcement officers. The caveat would be of a certain training. Yeah,
correct.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Mayor. That's kind of my list here for right now.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Miller. Ashley, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you very much. I just wanted to piggyback off a comment that Councillor Van Nieuwenkirk was talking about regarding him actually adding on to Councillor Munkoff-Swain's comment about the crosswalks. I think everyone was involved in that. I just want to clarify, we're talking any vehicle or possibly over a certain measurement. We're not just talking RVs. Is that correct?
Correct. So if you were to look at in our current bylaw about when it comes to crosswalks, it says unless a traffic control device permits or requires a vehicle shall not be parked on a crosswalk or any part of a crosswalk, and obviously within 5 meters. So it can become a little different when you talk 5 meters, but we'll definitely put that clarity in there so that it's clear on what actually the restriction is when it comes to a crosswalk. Now, stating that, we'll also look at some of our neighbors and have some internal discussions within municipal enforcement and RCMP to say, you know what, is 5 meters maybe what's in the Traffic Safety Act, but you know what, we may need to back it up because predominantly we have more, or we have an abundance of Class A motorhomes or larger vehicles that are in our areas, or we've identified a high risk where we had some type of major incident that has happened that has generated the in excess of. But we will definitely make some clarity based on your comments along with your colleagues.
Okay. Yeah, I see a lot of service vehicles, welding trucks, lots of different company vehicles around town that are in very close proximity to crosswalks, and they run into the bind though that they may live on a residential street. The crosswalk is literally 2 feet from their driveway. So how do you mitigate that issue? Because essentially they're parking in front of their house. So it's a tough one, but I look forward to that clarity. I wanted to touch on engine retarded brakes because I know within the city boundaries, you are not allowed to use your engine retarder brakes. However, how does that work with the noise bylaw? Because, for example, on the south end of town, say coming off of 625, there's a lot of homes right there that residents have complained about the noise, the excessive noise in the middle of the night, for example. So how does that really be enforced?
Through the mayor to Councillor Miller. When it comes to any of those types of concerns, it's really difficult to catch somebody in the moment unless you come up on it. We plan to have a fairly good dangerous goods routes that'll and a heavy truck route that'll hopefully deter some of that, but that is still on the outside boundary of the city. So anybody coming down 510 or 241, 243, trying to prohibit those types of activities is something that we're going to try to do. We will obviously there's some vehicles that are exempt, that emergency services vehicles and so forth, but we haven't ultimately received a lot of complaints when it came to those, whether people are just assuming that, okay, well, it's a provincial highway 625 but I think if we enable that as part of our bylaw to be within our boundaries, that you're not permitted to use it, hopefully that'll mitigate some of the issues when it comes to that. But it is something that we definitely ensure that we have some good clarity when it comes to engine retarder brakes for sure in the community.
Okay. The next one I wanted to just hit on was idling, and it was along the exact same thoughts as Councillor Van Nieuwkerk in the 15 minutes because of the factory settings on most of the remote starts. So I just wanted to hit on that and just comment that I'm in total agreement with that because it's true. And then also reiterate the fact that if the temperatures, taking those into account, so if the temperature is, I think below 0, or is it above 0 or below 30? One of the two, or both, sorry. So in the heat and in the very cold, this does not apply. Just wanted to clarify that, the idling bylaw. Is that correct?
Through the mayor to Councillor Miller, presently we had discussions even up until today on if it's tracked to a temperature. What we did is we took it out and we just left it as, obviously we would make the change that it would be 15 minutes. It's really hard to determine if somebody's out and it's minus 25 out and our bylaw says, well, there's no time restriction up until after minus 30. Don't want to put our officers in a predicament where they're trying to go out and deal with a resident because they're talking about a difference of a couple of degrees. And that's why we just left it to a time period, because it'd be more easier for residents to deal with, noting that you got 15 minutes. And yes, the clock would restart after, you know what, if it went off and then 5 minutes later you went back out again to restart it, the clock starts over again. So that's the piece. Understanding that manufacturers may have restrictions on what the time limit is for vehicles, but we can definitely, like I said, make the change to 15.
Okay.
If there's a discussion on temperature wise, we can easily put that back in, but we just took it out and left it time because that's relatively easy for everyone in the community to comprehend.
Okay, so I'm just looking at the exemptions in the current idling, in the idle-free bylaw. So essentially, you're going to remove the temperature altogether, because there's, in section 4 of the exemptions, there's quite a few. So I thought the exemptions would stay, but the time limit would essentially just change from 3 to 15 minutes.
We can easily put that temperature piece back in if that's
Okay.
the wish. We had a discussion today whether it would stay in. Right now, it's determining from whatever council's direction would be. It's relatively easy to put the language back in there if required.
Can I ask, and forgive me if it is in here as well, the zones for the for idling? Are we talking Beaumont as a whole, or were we talking certain zones? You're able to idle or not able to idle in certain zones? Because I believe, is it City of Edmonton that has specific zones where this is in effect, not necessarily all over the entire city? I'm just trying to get some clarity on.
I don't, sorry, through the mayor to Councillor Miller, I don't believe we went into that detailed as in which zone you are within the city. Predominantly, it is in residential, but you may have a employee who works at a local business that may want to start their vehicle up in their parking lot. So we didn't tie it to zones per se. It just, we wanted to be able to have the most enforceability and trying to, for a resident, determine which zone they're in, depend on if it's am I allowed to in this zone or not in that zone, may create some confusion. But if once again, if there needs to be more clarity in there when it comes to idling vehicles, then we can definitely put it in.
Yeah, I mean, I think my thoughts on this is signage as well. You know, there are areas of other municipalities that say that this is an idle-free zone, et cetera. I don't know. I'm just kind of thinking out loud here, but 15 minutes to me is good for, you know, starting your vehicle and when you're in your house for the factory setting. But I mean, there's other situations in which people may go longer. I think it's worth maybe looking at idle-free zones in our city. And then my last comment here, I like the part of the bylaw that touches on helmet safety, but I have to question, first of all, I know education is the main goal of this offense, I guess you'll call it, because there is a fine associated with it. I'm thinking there probably isn't a lot of offenses of helmet safety as it's for under the age of 18. And the goal is more to educate, but can you elaborate or expand on how many, like, I guess, data behind this? How many times do you, I know my kids have personally been stopped and got a positivity ticket from, you know, municipal enforcement, for example. Do you have any data behind how often this is happening and what really do you do to enforce it?
Through the mayor to Councillor Miller. Unfortunately, I don't have any data that's readily available. We can pull into our records management system and see if we have data. Obviously, education is a big piece, and once again, the majority of the interactions that we had with youth in the community has been positive within municipal enforcement when it comes to helmet safety. But it's something that we can definitely dig up some data to see if we have any clean data that's available that may provide an answer to your question.
Yeah, I'm honestly not looking for hard numbers, just was curious to know, what we're doing to protect our little 9 and 10-year-olds out there that don't want to wear their helmets. At the end of the day, it is all about education. So, and then lastly, I spoke of quite a few months ago about the, school buses, for example, that are turning onto these residential roads, and there's no, there's vehicles parked right there, and it's quite crammed. I'm just wondering what could you throw in here that, painting lines and stuff like that is one thing, but when you have snow and it covers it, I just don't know how that would play into that.
And sorry, through the mayor to Councilor, this is to clarify when school buses are leaving schools and coming out onto residential streets.
Right.
There's not enough.
Yeah, I mean, we talk
There's not
about,
enough turning radius there because
that's right, yeah.
everybody's parked on either side to pick up their child, and
That's right. And we talk about just, earlier tonight in the land use bylaw about, moving or pushing more people out onto the street. And I'm thinking, well, already there's a cramming issue for, school buses or potential emergency vehicles to get through. That may be something to
I
curb
guess
for another night.
I guess I will take that question away and provide some information on how that can be resolved, but
Yeah.
that too unfolds into the parking issue that was already brought up earlier this evening. So I'll see what I can gather and get some information back to you.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Appreciate that. Chief Melvin, just one quick question in general. When I went through the documents on the comparison I'm going through right now, that starts off, of course, with parking. Most of the language talks about highway. Now, when I started reading, I realized we're talking about roadways in this city, but we use the term highway throughout the doc. Is that just standard? I never noticed it before, or could we say roadway? Because the average person, my first thought was 625, what does that mean? And then realized, no, we're talking about roadways in our municipality. Just a question on that. Is there a reason for using the word highway?
Yes, so that would be brought up in the definitions of what the definition of a highway is.
Right.
But it is defined as any type of roadway within our road network of our areas, other than something that's other designed as that. But that would be included in our definitions.
Okay, I'm just saying with the average person reading it, they would think highway means more of a traditional highway sense. Okay, that it's interchangeable with roadway. That's what I thought. Okay. Any further questions on presentations thus far? Okay, I have a question for council. It's 8:45. We normally don't go much past 9, but we can if we need to, up to 10 if we absolutely have to. Do we want to continue this evening? We are meeting on the 20th. Do you want to have Mr. Melvin come back and finish off the automatic traffic enforcement section on the 20th and call it a night tonight? Or how are we feeling? Are we going to soldier on for a little while longer, or want to just, it's almost 4 hours. You want to maybe move this to the 20th? Okay, one power through. Ash, how do you feel?
That doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Steve, you're good to go for a bit or move on? On the councillors on video, how do you guys feel about soldiering on or move on to the 20th and have a fresh mind that day?
I'd sure like to wait, man.
Councillor Barnhart?
I'd like to wait until the 20th if possible. I not feeling well, but that's me. If the majority says go, I'll stick it out.
Okay. How do you feel?
I'm the same as Kathy. I'm not feeling very well, so I'm fading quickly, but
Remote tonight. I appreciate that. Sam's on work things out of town. So Sam, how do you feel?
Yeah, I think if there are two folks who are feeling under the weather. I think it's, this is an important topic. I would like to power through, but I think we should defer to make sure that everyone's ready to go.
Okay, I got a couple, three saying move, pass on, and one, two saying plow through. So I'll make an executive decision, and we're going to move this balance of our conversation on ATE to our upcoming committee of the whole meeting on December 20th. Ms. Bugia, can we have a motion put forward to that effect? You've already got one done already. You read my mind.
Mr.
Appreciate
Mayor,
that.
Did you want to move that?
Can I move it myself?
Yes, you may.
Perhaps I shall then. I'll move that the November 15, 2022 Traffic Safety Bylaw Automated Traffic Enforcement Report be postponed to the December 20th, 2022 Committee of the Whole meeting. Discussion on the motion? And council, I do appreciate the latitude here. I will ask the council to vote on the bylaw, on the motion, please. Councillor Barnhart, how do you vote?
Definitely in favor, thank you.
I was guessing that. Councillor Cook,
In favor.
Councillor Swain.
In favor.
Thank you. That passed unanimously. Thank you, council. I do appreciate that. It's been a long day, but a very, very productive meeting. Next on our agenda, thank you, Chief Melvin. We'll see you on the 20th again with a good discussion on this topic. Having said that, the next item on our agenda is councillor inquiries. I'm not aware of any unless some has popped up since earlier today. Normally I get heads up on that, but no one said anything about having a councillor inquiry. So seeing none, next item is adjournment. So with that, we'll adjourn at 8:48. Thank you all for coming. Much appreciated. And thank you for the latitude with the ATE presentation for December 20th. We'll have fresh minds that day, and we'll plow through another good meeting on the 20th. So